Hello, car enthusiasts. Welcome back to ThunderAlley. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of automobiles to explore 10 cars that, despite high hopes and grand promises, turned out to be major sales flops. These cars may have had innovative features or eye-catching designs, but for one reason or another, they just didn't click with consumers. So, without further ado, let's rev up the engines and get started. Before, please like and share the video, subscribe to this channel, and click the bell icon for more updates. Number 10. Ford Pinto. Ford Pinto. If you ask us, there are a lot of valid reasons why the Pinto was one of the worst cars of all time. Arguably, Ford took an aggressive approach towards the Pinto's production. At that time, the carmaker was facing stiff competition from Volkswagen when it came to the small car segment. And somehow that resulted in Ford rushing the development and release of the Pinto. Unfortunately, this had serious consequences. Some Pinto owners discovered that the car's fuel system would rupture upon rear impact. It then turned out Ford execs knew about it. That greenlit the Pinto's production anyway. Number 9. Chevrolet SSR. Chevrolet SSR. After the Plymouth Prowler failed miserably, Chevrolet went back to the drawing board and designed the Chevy SSR Super Sport Roadster to redeem itself. Unlike a typical pickup truck, the Chevy SSR is also a convertible with a retractable hardtop. Besides that, the Chevy SSR was initially fitted with a 5.3L V8 engine with an output of 300 horsepower. Enough to accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in less than 8 seconds. The Chevy SSR design was too radical. The Chevy SSR was expensive. Perhaps Chevy was trying to stand out when it conceived the SSR. Clearly, the result is a pickup truck that is radically different from the rest. The SSR would go down in history as one of the GM cars that were overhyped and flopped. This car is meant to be a cross between a pickup truck and a hardtop convertible. Unfortunately, the result is a confusing hybrid. As a result, it didn't do spectacularly in terms of sales. Number 8. Ford Edsel. The Edsel was a big deal at Ford. In fact, the company spent $250 million to develop the Edsel. Moreover, the development also went on for 10 years. When the car was introduced in 1957, it came with 2 engine options. According to Time, the 303 horsepower engine was available in the base trims. Meanwhile, the more expensive trims got a 345 horsepower engine. Ford introduced the Edsel with 18 models. Man, despite the hype, the sales for the car failed. Number 7. Pontiac Aztek. It seems General Motors was determined to come out with one earliest compact SUVs. Unfortunately, it failed to do so in style. The Aztek looks like something straight out of someone's nightmare. It was boxy, it had plastic accents. As you could expect, the Aztek barely sold. Some may even say that the Aztek is among the cars that put Pontiac out of business. Number 6. GM EV1. Before the world knew all about Tesla, there was GM's EV1. It's a car that was so ahead of its time that it failed. First impressions of the car were quite favorable. The EV1 looked sleek after all. However, it only had a range of 100 miles, and this wasn't enough for some customers. Even worse, there was a lack of charging stations along the roads. Eventually, GM recalled and axed the EV1. For years, everyone assumed that all EV1 cars had already been destroyed. But then an EV1 turned up in an Atlanta parking lot. Number 5. Scion Toyota IQ. Toyota IQ. It's rare that Toyota produces a flop, but the IQ mini car certainly fits the bill. Introduced in Japan and Europe for 2008, the IQ was brought to the United States under the Scion brand starting in the 2012 model year. Right around the same time, the American economy was studying. In the post-recession period, fuel prices were dropping and buyers were clamoring for ever larger crossovers and SUVs. Toyota wanted to sell 100,000 IQs annually across the globe. But in the 5 years the model was sold in the US, Toyota moved just under 16,000 of them. It is difficult to find the appeal in a vehicle with the primary selling point of being more than a foot longer than the contemporary Smart 14. Incredibly, Toyota used that extra size to test its own engineering prowess, somehow finding room for 4 seats. 2 more than the smart hack arranged in a novel 3+1 layout. What's the saying if a vehicle packaging breakthrough lands in the woods? Anyway, the formula was so sales-proof that Aston Martin even got in on the action. Such as it was. That's right, we can't discuss the IQ without mentioning its ultra-rare spin-off. The Aston Martin Signet. It was like an IQ, only with an Aston grille and interior slathered in leather, and a mind-boggling price. In what might be a shock only to anyone with a low IQ. The British Mark sold about 300 examples, in Europe far fewer than its 4,000 unit target. Number 4. Lincoln Blackwood. Lincoln Blackwood. The Blackwood represents the first time Lincoln ever attempted to make a pickup truck. Unfortunately, it also looks like it would be the last. The truck is pretty much based on the Ford F-150 Super Crew but with a new grille, body panels, and interior. The truck has some respectable performance with its 5.4-liter V8 cranking out 300 horses. However, its cargo bed looks quite bizarre and people found its navigation system antiquated. In the end, Lincoln only produced 1 model year of the car before scrapping it altogether. Number 3. Jaguar X-Type. The intention behind the X-Type is to create a car that would rival the BMW 3 Series and similar compact cars. Unfortunately, the X-Type failed to even gain a respectable reputation. It didn't take long for people to notice that the car had cheap switchgear. There were complaints about driving noise too. Some also said that the cabin was tight. As Consumer Reports notes, the X-Type was never a great car. Hence, we should all be relieved that Jaguar eventually decided to abandon the car altogether. Number 2. Fisker Karma. Fisker Automotive was another ambitious company that set out to do something different. The company developed the Karma, a sleek electric car that commanded attention easily. It sold relatively well in the beginning, but then Fisker went bankrupt and production was shut down. Just like Aptera Motors, Fisker is determined to make a comeback after being bought by the Chinese firm Wanchun. More interestingly, the company says it will restart production on the Karma. When it does, however, the car will be called a Lux Karma, according to a report from Driving. Number 1. DeLorean DMC-12. Sure, this DeLorean is incredibly famous, but that doesn't mean the car is a success. When DeLorean introduced the DMC-12, the plan was to market it as a futuristic sports car. The company was even optimistic enough to expect a sale of 12,000 cars each year. However, things didn't work out. According to Motor Biscuit, the company only managed to sell 6,000 DMC-12 by 1981. To make matters worse, DeLorean was already going broke. That said, the Back to the Future franchise helped immortalize the car. Some DMC-12s even sold well in auctions. Well, there you have it, folks, 10 cars that, for various reasons, couldn't find their place in the automotive market and became sales flops. Remember, even the biggest car manufacturers can stumble when trying to introduce something new and innovative. Thanks for joining us on this journey through automotive history. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, drive safe and stay tuned for more exciting content here at ThunderAlley.